You had no loyalty. The moment that there was going to be a little bit more money, you ran to it. When you see that it couldn't happen because you're still fucking crazy, you ran the fuck away. Rico is a fucking coward. Always has been. Always will be.
So
Apologies
I appreciate that.
Fucking damned.
I appreciate that, chaps. I appreciate you taking that stance. I appreciate you taking up for me and for my wife. But at the end of the day, there was part of me when I was listening to this guy on the phone and how broken he sounded, whether it's an act or not.
Good.
I ultimately feel sad for him.
It's what day is it?
Thursday going to be Friday edition.
Wait. Friday edition here on Zero Blog 30. And today we have 3 rounds plus 1. You're going to get an alibi round from Cons in just a minute. Round number 1, we got some terrible news about that sneaky little elf on a shelf from a military wife Walmart rant. Anytime you have those last 4 words, it's going to be good, my friends. It's just flat out it's going to play. That's the way it goes. Anything that's happening in base housing, by the way, while we're doing this, if you get any hot tips on what's going on in base housing drama, send it to Kate. Send it to Cons at cons@barstoolsports.com.
We'll keep it anonymous.
He'll send it over to us. We'll keep it anonymous, absolutely. We'll change what base. We'll change some names, but we will not change the story, and it's going to be fantastic. Get those in. Round number 2, the story about some very horny troops bringing their fetish to the fleet, and it's going to make you say woof. This story lit up the old military TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, basically all the social media sites. I don't know what's going on Facebook, but I think the other ones, they were talking about it. Round number 3.
Military story. Woof.
India and China are fist fighting in the mountains of blank. And the footage
to
has
fill that
been
in.
wild. Kate was trying to figure it out, what mountains it was. I have no idea either. But we'll break it down and give you the latest on that. They went absolute fisticuffs. Well, we're not talking about weapons or anything like that. Just good old-fashioned knuckle sandwiches.
Weapons of opportunity.
Brass knuckles.
They had, I don't know. I was watching too much Twitter on it last night, so who knows what's real and what's fake. But.
And all that is going to be brought to you by our good friends at WhistlePig. WhistlePig is the best whiskey in the world. I went back and looked for my original WhistlePig tweet. That shit came from August of 2016. So not only did I talk about WhistlePig earlier, that was a month after I got hired. It was one of the first things I talked about at Barstool, and now they're the presenting partner, and it's still delicious. Piggyback 100% or 100 proof bourbon stands taller and bolder than the pack. No other bourbon or rye duo on the market offers this big of age, proof, and mash for a full send on flavor. Piggyback 100% rye is the savory side of whiskey, with Piggyback 100% proof bourbon is the sweeter side of whiskey, and you really can't have one on your bar without the other. 100% for all for 100. Piggyback 100% rye and Piggyback 100 proof bourbon is 100% of the good stuff. Get your bottles at shop.whistlepig.com or at a local retailer. Fuck, I almost did the whole thing perfectly.
You're so close.
Pretty close.
We got one more show before the Christmas break. I need to nail it on the next one. I absolutely need to. I haven't done it in 365 days where I got through the whole thing without fucking it up. I'm going to do it next episode. That's my promise to the listener. No matter how many times it takes, I'm going to do it perfectly next time.
The one thing you can't fuck up is a WhistlePig.
Yeah,
Delicious.
One thing you can't fuck up either is making some decisions that are going to haunt you for a long time because you're a childish little goon. Cons, walk us through what's been going on the last couple weeks, months, years.
Yeah, really. Let's just take it back all the way to the beginning because I think sometimes we forget that.
We're talking about office drama.
Yeah, this is Barstool centric.
Before we get into it.
I don't know that everybody. Well, I want to give some context. Yeah, I don't think everybody knows what's going on here. So
I'll be honest. I've been shitting my brains out for the last several days, and I've missed all of this. And I kind of never paid attention. Talking about Rico Bosco, I kind of never paid attention to the drama surrounding him anyway. Somehow, I avoided that storm, even though it was right in front of me the whole time I've been working there. So yes, give us some context on this.
So Rico Bosco is this person at Barstool Sports who did a lot of the gambling content, primarily with Dan and Dave. And a very long time ago, I'm talking like 2017. So, we're still in the early stages of Zero Blog 30. And I happened to be at a Mets game. And this person walks up to me, and it's Rico Bosco. And he and I had DM'd and interacted on Twitter before, always very cordial, very nice. And I stood there, and I caught up with him, and I chatted with him for like 20 or 30 minutes. And I was with a group of friends for a bachelor party. So at one point, he said, hey, can we take a picture? We took a picture. And then I said, hey, man, great to meet you. I'm going to go back and hang out with my friends.
In that moment, 10 minutes suffices. If you give 10 minutes when you're with your other friends, that's a long time. 30 minutes is ridiculous. Like, that shows how nice Cons is, goes over the top to be accommodating. And I think everybody at Barstool Sports would say that same exact thing. Nobody is as accommodating at Barstool as Cons. And you know it's true if I'm fucking saying it.
Exactly.
Very hospitable.
Exactly. So from there, he interpreted that as a slight against him. I was rude to him. So in his world, when you do something to wrong him, he cuts you off completely. And then that snowballed into, jabs back and forth. He made jabs about me. So naturally, locker room, I'm going to take jabs at him. Little jokes here and there. Never anything malicious. Well, that all changed 2 weeks ago when Alex, my wife, says, have you seen this? And she shows me her phone, and there's a few tweets where she's mentioned, and I'm pretty sure they've been deleted since, so don't go bother looking for them. A burner account that we know now because also he confirmed it. A burner account went after Alex and was tweeting things at her that were very intentionally trying to throw a wedge in between our marriage. And he was saying things, or this account was saying things that were not new to Alex. Ultimately, it bothered her that she was being involved, but it wasn't...
Because you don't do that. I include my family, so like I understand people are going to say crazy shit, like that's just the way it goes. You have gone pretty out of your way to make sure that she's not, because of this type of thing.
Right. And also, she doesn't want to be a part of this stuff. She has a relationship with you guys, and we'll text, as we found out. But largely, she doesn't want to be any part of Barstool, and that's fine. And I've done my best to shelter her. I might mention something about her from time to time, but nothing really. So in that moment that I saw those tweets, I was hot. Okay? I was extremely pissed off. Now...
Yeah, dude, I would have been pretty pissed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So because, he has blocked my phone number, he has blocked me on all forms of social media. I don't know where he lives, and he's lucky I don't know where he lives at that point.
Yeah, credit to you for not beating the fuck out of him the next time you saw him.
So, we'll get to that. So I go to Dan, and I explained to Dan what happens. Immediately Dan said, that's over the top, that's not right, I will handle this. So, okay, that's my best course of action at that point. That's Friday, 12/2. Wednesday, we have
the chain of command.
Yeah, exactly. Wednesday, we have the company meeting, so I'm in the office, and I see him, and I am really, really doing everything in my power not to just run up to him. And I think that stems from my respect for Dave and for Dan. And also, at the end of the day, I'm 38 years old. If I go put my hands on someone and were to get arrested for assault possibly, where does that put me with my wife?
We've had enough of that on this podcast, I'll say that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
and
you know
also,
what?
You've seen people don't take it kindly when you throw like a high noon at their head or anything like that.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
Can't get physical in the office.
So I saw him for a brief second, and then I didn't see him again. And then we get into the company meeting, and it gets announced. We get an email from Dave. Rico's gone.
Was he aware at this point that you knew that he was behind the burner harassing your wife?
Dave did not know. Dan did not know.
Not
or
Dave.
Dan
No,
didn't know. Or Dave didn't know.
Did Rico know that you knew that it was him yet on Friday when you saw him?
I had to imagine because, yes, Dan
okay.
said something to him.
Okay.
So
I had no
yes.
idea this was going on, and you were like lovely that day. You hit it very well. So
he's out of the company, so I'm like, you know what? He's gone. I don't know what he's about to go do, but whatever. I'm not going to pursue this any further. It's not worth my time. My wife is not upset, so we're good. And then I see Brandon Walker at the Army-Navy game, and he's like, hey, did you hear Rico's trying to come back? And I said, no, actually, I hadn't heard that. And then I didn't think anything of it. Sunday, I get a phone call, and I had Rico's number saved in my phone because I had reached out to him years ago about something. And I'm sitting there with Alex, my wife, on the couch, and I said, look at this. So I take the phone call, And he proceeds to give what I could only describe as a sincere apology. He admitted to what he did. He admitted that it was wrong. And in that moment, I just felt as though I didn't need to kick a person when they were down.
Oh, I'd have kicked them right away.
But time out though. Did he say why he did it though?
No,
Like, why?
and I didn't ask. But I can only, surmise why he did it. And I think he is someone who has a lot that he has to deal with in his own head. And I could speculate what is going on, but I'm not going to. So I think he felt backed into a corner, which is no excuse, but that's where he was at. So following that phone call, I reached out to Dan and Dave and I told them what had happened. And then immediately Dave called me and he's like, listen, I told Rico if he's going to come back, the first thing he has to do is apologize to you about what he did. And I really respect the heck out of Dave for doing that, for coming to me and saying, if you say no, that's fine. And don't feel pressure like because it's me and Dan that you have to say yes. If you're not comfortable, you don't have to say yes. Mm-hmm. And, maybe call it my Catholic upbringing, call it whatever you will. I just felt like forgiveness was the bigger step in that moment and the bigger approach.
Rico, I need you to go home and say 3 Hail Marys and repent for what you've done.
So I just, and then it went from there. And as I'm sure some people have listened to his appearance on the Pick'em, I don't know. I don't know if he's actually changed or if he's just paid lip service to me.
Changed.
Or did he just apologize because he wanted his job back? And it stinks.
Quite possible.
That's exactly what it is.
I've always liked Rico, and I kind of always kept it distant from you guys because, I have no problems with him. I always thought he was so nice. I've seen him outside of work with his seems just like a lovely guy, and so it's hard for me to put the two together, like the guy who's doing that stuff, and then this nice guy who's brings
I think you have the wool over your eyes. I haven't seen anything that illustrates that, and this is absolutely a fake thing. Dave and Dan put down the ultimatum, if you don't apologize to Cons, you can't come back. That's all this is. He wanted to apologize from Cons. If not, he did this for years. This isn't a momentary mistake because he's drunk or he's high or he had a bad day at work. This was a conscious effort for years to do this to Cons. And to do it to Cons is fucking insane. Of all the people at Barstool to come at Cons and come at Cons' family is fucking absurd. And the fact that he's back, dude, Cons, if we would have known this together, I'm my legs are shaking. I'm so pissed off that he came at your wife and the fact that you could keep it together, man. I don't know how you're doing it like that. This is a good example of staff NCOs and officers because this is the same type of shit that would happen in the military. Cons as the officer would be pissed, would take little action himself, and then I would come in over the top and beat somebody. Not literally, but figuratively. And that's exactly what Rico needs to do.
And I would be in the smoke pit going.
Yeah, this guy is just
my God.
Coming back. One, it shows that he's got to stop saying that he could be a star somewhere. No, the fuck you can't. To bet on yourself is a great thing to do. Betting on yourself sometimes worked out. It worked out for Aaron Judge, plenty of other athletes. But if you're going to go around, I've been here 3 presidencies. I've been here 3 presidency. You had no loyalty. The moment that there was going to be a little bit more money, you ran to it. When you see that it couldn't happen because you're still fucking crazy, you ran the fuck away. Rico is a fucking coward. Always has been. Always will be.
So I appreciate that.
Fucking damned.
I appreciate that, chaps. I appreciate you taking that stance. I appreciate you taking up for me and for my wife. But at the end of the day, there was part of me when I was listening to this guy on the phone and how broken he sounded, whether it's an act or not.
Good.
I ultimately feel sad for him. I felt sorry for him, and not in pity party, but I just didn't feel like this was worth my time. I felt like myself, my wife, you guys, I feel like we are above acting that way. So, and at the end of the day, I am so happy because in this life, I'm going to be okay. All right. Whatever happens to me, I'm going to be okay. I'll be able to take care of myself, my wife, my family, everybody. Mm-hmm. He has a wife and children. I don't know them, but I don't want to put them through anything because of the transgressions of a man who is broken in a lot of ways. So that's where I'm at. I forgave him. We'll see how he acts going forward, but I don't forget things. Certainly, I won't just be like, oh, okay, like no big deal, like this happened and I don't really care.
That shit's unforgivable.
Yeah.
It's like disappointing. Like from what I knew, I'm like, man, that's really like that makes me very angry. That really sucks.
So here's the other thing.
Really shitty.
Well,
I can't imagine going after like I've had disagreements with people here and people at Barstool like big time, and I still can't imagine ever even the thought never crossed my mind. Let me fuck with their family. Like I can't imagine doing that.
Well, what you
and
both said.
I want to clarify something because I said he's a coward. I know that he's done like some of the jobs that he's had in the past. Not cowardly. He's done that morally. He's cowardly morally, which I think is even worse. A lot of people don't sign up jobs to do dangerous shit. He's a moral coward, which is basic. That's the worst thing I could say about a person. He is a moral coward.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is you two both alluded to. Now this is out there. Now it's beyond just me forgiving him. He has to deal with everybody now knowing what he did, and he
he's
has
a piece
to.
Of shit. And not as a joke. Because that was a burner. That wasn't as be like, oh, I'm going to do this for content. He did that solely to wedge a place in your marriage, man. Your fucking marriage.
Yeah. And I think this speaks to, my marriage and the strong person that my wife is and the great person that she is. Because she was able to see beyond the words and see this is just coming from someone who is in a bad place and feels they have no other recourse. And ultimately she said, you know what? Just be above it. Be above it. So that was the route I chose to take. Now, he made his bed. He has to lie in it. Now, everybody else at the company as well, because I've had a lot of folks reach out to me. Thank you to all the people, and I won't mention who, but a lot of folks have reached out to me and said, I had no idea he did that. I'm very sorry. And now he has to live with the repercussions of those actions beyond Barstool. He has to live inside the walls of Barstool. Now everyone knowing that about him, and that's his cross to bear. And that's not for me to help him with. He's got to overcome that himself. I don't hold grudges. I've never been one to hold grudges, and especially when you peel everything back, I hate that he went after my wife. She and I talked about it. It wasn't terrible because she knew what.
Don't do that. It was terrible.
It was
every
terrible.
Aspect.
It was terrible, but like
you don't have to mitigate. Like it was fucking terrible across the board. And I want to say one more thing, Cons. The integrity violator shit's done. Like I'm not gonna bring up Navy's song anymore. Like the fact that you did this not only shows the kind of character that you have, but you have integrity. You have unbelievable patience, the willpower to not do what you wanted to do in that moment. Because if somebody comes after your wife, the difference of what you normally can control and the fact that you could is a testament to who you are. And that's why it makes me so furious that this happened. Like
No, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate what you've said, and seeing this reaction out of you really, truly means a lot to me. And I think this is...
I want to fly back to New York tomorrow. Honest to God, I do.
This really is the dynamic between an officer and his NCO right here. I mean, look at you.
If I would have known that when he was in the building, I mean, I got off probation recently. I might be back on. Honestly, you might have to just put me back on.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. We'll see where it goes from here. I think he has so many bridges that he's burned and relationships that won't be repaired, because I think a lot of people will take the same stance that you have, that what he's done is unforgivable. I said I forgive him. It is water under the bridge as far as I'm concerned. We're not going to be best friends and spend the holidays together, but I'll always be professional. I'll always be cordial. I've never been anything but.
I will not.
Well,
this is a great chance. If you're going to say you're going to change, this is a great opportunity and probably his last opportunity to really do it. So I hope he takes that.
But I also want to say, because I had to come to it my own self and what I've been through and what I did. What you're going through mentally, what you're going through with relations outside of an individual relationship. Just because you have that mitigating factor does not mean you're not responsible for your action. No matter what is going on mentally, you are still responsible for your action. So this idea that just because he's going through stuff, is he going to counseling? Is he on medication? All these other, did he do anything to mitigate it? Did he attempt to stop at any point? If you didn't attempt to stop at any point, you are not sincere. You're just not. All this whole thing is not sincere. If he wasn't coming back or going to have to come back to Barstool, he had never done any of this shit. Never.
Quite possible. But you know what? At the end of the day, when I, pass on from this life and I have to go answer for myself, I can have a clear conscience knowing that I did what was right in my heart. And yep. I wanted to forgive him, so I did. And if he ruins that, then that's on him. That's not on me.
Yep, bigger man cons. All right, let's move on to some of the topics that we wanted to talk about today on our normal show. But we'll go through some of these quickly so we won't keep you too long because there's not a lot of good stories going on in the military. I'll be honest with you. There's just not.
It's tough.
Which is good.
There.
It's good
that
in a
can
way.
Be a good thing.
It's
that can be a good
not
thing.
Good for us, but it's good for the country, I guess.
Round number 1, we're talking elf on a shelf here. This was from a message on a social media account, I guess, for military spouses. And
yeah, I found it on Reddit. There's a military spouse page on Reddit, and I went to it, and I saw this one at the top. And I was like, I can see why it's at the top.
When the spouse themselves begins it with military wife Walmart rant. Okay. He or she could be about to pop off in there, let me tell you. First off, this is about Elf on a Shelf. I just want to say something really quick. My family has been doing that before. Long before Elf on a Shelf was a thing. We had Pinky the Christmas elf that lived under my grandma's cupboard in her kitchen. Mm-hmm. Okay. We're talking 70s, 80s, 90s. Oh, wow. Pinky the Christmas elf has been fucking with my family for decades. Before Elf on a Shelf was a thing, so you're all copycats. Just like to clear the air on that.
Wow.
Number 2.
Is this going to be kind of like when somebody says they invented the Hot Pocket?
My family also invented that, oddly enough.
Kate's family is actually the inventor of zippers. I don't know if you knew that.
Pancakes, which is
we did all those things, yes. But here's the rant that was found. Military wife Walmart rant. Walmart of Camden has some poor-ass taste. A lot of exclamation points. When you walk into the door, there is a display of Elf on the Shelves for sale, which is a tradition that me and my family do just about every Christmas. Well, my daughter sees the display and starts asking questions and thought the Elf on the Shelves come from the North Pole. And I was like, sweetie, sometimes they come from Walmart. And then she just started asking, why Walmart? And this kid is just too smart for her own damn good.
I need to stop right here. This bitch is dumb. I mean, sorry for that language. I'm still a little fired up. It's going to take me a minute to calm down here. I'm on medication that's helping me do that, but I'm going to need a moment here. But this lady, it's her fault. It's not Walmart's fault.
There hasn't been a single punctuation since poor ass taste.
You don't need them.
It's difficult to read.
Punctuation is for cowards.
The kid starts asking questions. Guess what? She ends up spilling the beans. So I end up telling her Santa isn't real, and now she's extremely upset, and I'm distraught. Thank you, Walmart, for ruining Christmas for my family. I went to the customer service department, and they basically told me there's nothing they can do. Nothing you can do? Take down the fucking display, you assholes. It's safe to assume I will not be back at Walmart anytime soon. She's got a point. She's got a point.
I mean,
if you're telling your kids, if we're all telling our kids that Elf is from the North Pole, you got to have some kind of story.
This is a replica. That just like Santa, like that's not the actual Santa that's in the mall. Like it depends on how big these kids are. That's not actual Santa. That's just one of Santa's helpers that wants to come and hang out.
I think it's real simple, especially if you're near a military base. You just say, "Oh, that's formation for the Elf Brigade. They haven't been assigned a family yet. They're just waiting on their assignment."
Mm-hmm. And they just came in. They just transferred.
They just got done with Elf basic training.
Lightyear?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Elf basic training is over. This is where they come, and they're waiting on assignment. They're excited. Maybe they'll come to our house.
Were you guys weren't military kids, so I don't. You have the perspective of going to like the holiday parties as like military members, but I think I'm the only one on the podcast who's done it as a child. Mm-hmm. And dude, I gotta be honest, it was fucking lit. Like, I know people don't like holiday parties, but this shit was fucking awesome because I mean, think about, I was 7 years old. I was able to go in an airplane hangar that had a shit ton of airplanes, and there were fighter jets, and there was people who flew in those jets, and they had like on their flight suits, they had their helmets on with like the glass.
Santa's there. You're getting presents. There's candy.
Listen to how Santa showed up, Kate.
Yeah.
Santa showed up fast roping out of a helicopter.
Oh, let's go.
With a bag that had toys and stuff on it, and your parents brought you toys that I found this out later, and they put it under like the squadron Christmas tree. And so Santa's coming out and he's like, hold on, boys and girls, I need to go buy the Christmas tree. And he would drop it out and there would be like presents, and then he would call the little kids up, and you're like, oh my God, how does he know I'm here? Like, I didn't even know I was coming till today. And it just made Santa and the military awesome. It was I loved it.
That's very cool.
I think any kid would. That it's very different from the perspective of a hungover PFC who's stuck working the cotton candy machine. Yes, I definitely, totally agree. But that is the military wife rant of the day.
Today's episode of Zero Black 30 is also presented by our friends at Ridge Wallet. Ridge Wallet is an ultra slim minimalist wallet. If you're like me, you don't like having that huge wallet in your back pocket that gives you all kinds of sciatica pain. That's a pain in the butt every time, literally every time you try to put it in there. It just gets bigger and bigger with all kinds of business cards you don't need, receipts that you don't need or care about. Ridge Wallet gets rid of all that. And it's made with RFID blocking technology. So all those new chips on your credit cards, it makes it a lot harder to steal your information. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you don't, people can walk to your door, steal some of your credit card information if your wallet is close enough to the door. This kind of thing, the RFID technology blocks that and protects the digital pocket pickers. If it's secure from anywhere from 2 to 6 keys, it organizes your keys in a compact silhouette and for fold out to easy access. So you have a keychain and you have a wallet. There are 6 colors and styles to choose from, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. Get the best offer at ridge.com/ZBT and save up to 40% through December 22nd. All right, let's move on to round number 2. We got some horny ass troops, and surprisingly, some of them even have a full bird on their collar.
I gotta tell you, I'm a pretty open-minded lady.
You are.
Let your freak flag fly. I knew guys in my unit who liked to go to the swingers clubs. I knew guys that were into all kinds of. The one guy just openly kept like his butt plugs and nipple clips out in his barracks room, and the guys would clip their nipples together when they were drunk and run around the barracks. Like,
that's goofing.
We were just goofing, man.
Yeah.
People were pretty accepting of whatever.
We're very much goofing in a lot of different ways.
We sure were.
Yeah.
But this is a little bit different.
Right.
This is a little hornier.
Slap's a little different, yeah.
Yes. Okay. From task and
I
purpose.
want to clarify before, this is not from Third ID. This is not a story about the dog-faced warrior. That's not what this is. Or dog-faced soldier. That's not what this is.
No. Okay. So this is from Max Hoppman at Task and Purpose. Multiple soldiers are under investigation for indiscreet activity while in uniform, specifically posting photos of themselves wearing dog-themed bondage masks while in uniform.
And these are like dogs with the long snout. It's
not like furries. It's not like the furry community.
This is like Paw Patrol. It looks like Paw Patrol.
But it's like if Paw Patrol was a leather daddy. Okay? As reported by USA Today, the images, many of which first appeared on social media on December 9th, depict male soldiers in uniform or parts of uniforms wearing dog masks, leather, and chains. Some of the photos depict poses of submission and sexual acts. Another photo shows a soldier in combat fatigues wearing a dog mask on an airfield. So part of this, it was this whole military leather daddy dog community that they got off on being like, and look, I'm doing my military job. Like and hard as a rock with my leather daddy dog mask on. You're like, what is happening? But it's
unfair to assume that people. I think there's 1.8 million people or something like that in the armed forces. To expect no one to have this kink is kind of naive, really.
It's just pure statistics.
Right.
But this is the difference. Like, we weren't, during the day when we were at work, we weren't running around with the nipple clips. I never did, by the way. But
no, but you're right.
Their PFTs with their nipple clips laughing and goofing. That was an after work thing.
At the end of the day, not just the military, any organization, when you're wearing that uniform, whether it's a professional athlete, the military, or any job, you're representing that organization. So you can't just expect that whatever you like to do in your private time will be accepted by everybody. And that's
Like
the problem
that
I
lady who
took.
lost
I don't
her
think
job.
they
The lady
What?
who lost her job for going tits out at Home Depot. Like, you can't do that.
Can't do it.
But
And you're wearing the orange.
I think a lot of these guys felt a sense of invincibility because of their ranks, because of their job. So Major Jonathan Lewis, a spokesperson for U.S. Army Pacific, who's probably questioning his job right now,
Right.
told Task and Purpose that they're aware of the content found on social media. They're looking into it. Though the Army would not confirm to Task and Purpose which photos they were investigating or how many soldiers were involved, a number of screenshots from social media accounts have made the rounds online. And basically, yeah, soldiers in uniform wearing dog bondage masks. One in particular shows a colonel in his dress uniform, a colonel, in a pose staged similarly to a routine official photo. So it's like an official promotional photo, except he's wearing the horny
I honest to
dog
God, when I
leather
saw the photo, I thought these are E7s and E8s that are just, they've been divorced several times and they're just horny as fuck. When it popped up that it was a full bird, I was like, this thing goes deep. This is like the Illuminati. You want to talk about having the swamp? This is the swamp. This is the sexual swamp.
Yeah, so it is definitely a sexual swamp. I saw the thread. I saw a lot of the photos. Listen, I want to go to FurCon one year. I want to see what it's all about. I'm open to, my brain is an open, hey, what's your weird thing? Oh, that's cool. I was weirded out.
When's
I
the
was
first time you
really-
guys heard of furries?
Oh, probably when that episode of Entourage where Turtle gets propositioned by that woman. That's probably where I heard about it first.
Catherine?
Yeah, I think there was like an MTV True Life or something like that where at first, I don't know.
My
But I've
first
been-
one was
I've
an
been following
episode
forever.
of NCIS where they found out who did
Oh,
it because
yeah.
there was semen on like a dog outfit. And that's how they tied it back. Ducky found it. Ducky was like, hey guys, I think we found some fucking gum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, these accounts, like I'm giving a made up example here off the top of my head, but from the thread I was looking at, it was very clear that all these accounts also reflected them. It was like at Colonel Horny Dog, and they made it very clear that they were in the military. And then they were posting like cartoons of them getting sucked off by like whatever. And it's like, dude.
I'll leave you guys with this. When you're in uniform, you represent a whole heck of a lot more than just yourself, so don't do anything to disgrace that uniform.
That's fair. I
Getting
think that's a fair
OnlyFans,
stance.
honey. Getting OnlyFans, honey.
Yeah, put that shit up or do
Okay.
it anonymously. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
gonna do something, do it anonymously. Have a
Anyway,
little bit of.
highly recommend looking into it and the photos and stuff like that. Just very, it's a thing. That
It
a
is.
thing.
All right,
My
let's move
God.
on to round number 3. There's a lot of going on at this border, right, Catherine?
Yeah, China and India are battling in the boonies. And this has been going viral on social media this week. These images and videos of basically, it almost looks like, the Great Wall of China, images of it going along the top of a mountain. Instead of the wall, it's a wall of soldiers from India and China, and they're hitting each other with long sticks. Just
Okay.
like for miles, it looks like. Just an enormous amount of people. So, two opposing sides, one thin strand of barbed wire between them, and they're just beating the shit out of each other. Here's a quick explainer of what's going on between India and China via the BBC. The root cause, there's this 2,100 mile long border between India and China in the absolute most mountainous, like no man's land you can possibly imagine. So picture a border between New York, like all the way from New York to Los Angeles, but that whole border is like the Grand Tetons the whole way. Like that's how long this border is. And because of avalanches and changing landscapes and snow and blah, 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 the border's often changing. And because it's so difficult to map it too, China's like, well, this chunk, we're pretty sure this chunk's ours. And India's like, no, that's our chunk, blah, blah, blah. So this 2,100 mile stretch has been disputed for a long, long, long ass time. The two nations, though, as technology advances, it's getting easier and easier to build and live in these areas. So both sides are starting to build up infrastructure along this border. So every time China builds another base up there, India's like, what are those motherfuckers doing? Now we got to build another base. And it's just escalating and escalating. And the line it's called the line of actual control. And so China was starting to build more infrastructure, and then India built a new road to a new high altitude base. And back in 2020, when that road was completed, we talked about this on the show. They had another major clash up there, the Battle of Galwan Valley. With only sticks and clubs, they fought each other 20 Indian soldiers and 4 Chinese soldiers died.
I mean,
so they were
besides the death, that seems kind of lit, honestly. Like just going at it with sticks and stuff.
It's like a really aggressive
medieval
mosh pit.
battle.
That's good ass training.
Yeah.
But it's been going viral again. Tensions are high. China is continuing to build up troops along the border, and India has almost completed a major tunnel project, which would help them do the same. So tensions are just rising and rising.
Which isn't good because these are the 2 most populous countries in the world. And India's going to be the most populous soon in like 2 or 3 years.
And they're both nuclear powers,
right?
Which is very concerning. So the 2 countries have only ever fought one war in 1962 when India suffered a humiliating defeat, like pretty much right away. The question, isn't it interesting? No guns or artillery or anything like that are being used up there. And that's in part because they both know that they
have nukes,
nukes. And so they both know that it's so hard to even sometimes, like when you're way, way out there, communication is tough. It's pretty easy probably sometimes. One person fucks up and next thing you know, you're fighting with each other. So they have a rule. They have a 1996 agreement prohibiting the use of guns and explosives. They can only use sticks.
We should do that across the board.
Yeah.
Knuckles.
I kind of like that.
I want to go back to feudalism again, but
I don't know.
I'm fine with it. I mean, to imagine this scene if you're just listening to the audio version. Remember in Game of Thrones when you had 2 of the clashing different factions where they went into each other and they just kind of intertwined together? That's exactly what happened here. Is that they intertwined together and they're just beating each other with sticks and stuff. There's no dragons though. No dragons.
Pretty crazy visuals. Now, I'm seeing reports. I was seeing some reports saying this is old footage, but they are beefing up there again, blah, blah, blah. So who knows? But they are indeed beefing up there.
No, there was articles about it in like the New York Times and Washington Post that it happened this week.
So I believe it for sure. But the videos that are posted are like everything's looking a little green, everything. So I think it's older footage. But
kind of like the Ghost of Kiev was a video game in a lot of parts.
Yeah, you know. But it's just really interesting. I'm interested to see where that goes. China is one of India's biggest trading partners, so there would be huge economic fallout too if there was a military standoff. And India's prime minister and the Chinese president have been like knocking heads too. So observers saying talks are the only way forward. Like these 2 have to talk and figure shit out and make sure they relay that to the mountains. And dude, you think, like I was looking up about these bases have the highest altitudes of any military bases in the world. And it is just absolute fucking misery.
Yeah.
If you get that if you get those
I looked it up.
posts.
It's the Himalayas.
Yeah, you're in the fucking Himalayas. Oh, that's the name of the mountain range I couldn't think of. Hell yeah.
I thought Himalayas off the top, but I was like, I don't want to say this and look like an idiot.
Yeah.
No,
But I Googled it.
People come at you so hard when you screw up on geography. It's like, oh, you're an idiot. You thought that was over there?
Oh, like when we didn't know that the Galapagos Islands were in South America. We had no idea.
No clue.
Sorry.
Totally thought that was somewhere else.
Yeah, I still think it's by Australia. Fuck them.
Right.
We'll be keeping an eye on that. Hopefully things just kind of simmer down as the winter cools things off.
Exactly right. Save Rounds and Alibis today is presented by our good friends at Amazon Music. Hey, Prime members, have you heard yet? Zero Blog 30 is now ad-free on Amazon Music. With the Amazon Music app, you get access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts like ours, and now included with Prime. To listen, visit Amazon.com/ZBT, which I'm pumped at. We have an Amazon thing. That's sick. I never thought that would happen. Avoid the ads and listen to your favorite Barstool shows or on the go, offline, or wherever life takes you. Start listening ad-free by visiting Amazon.com/ZBT. That's Amazon.com/ZBT. Kate. All right, let's move on to Save Rounds and Alibis. Nicholas, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I want to go back to that the Santa Claus thing. Chaps, you were saying that you experienced it as a kid. I did too, but at the firehouse, and Santa actually used to come down from the pole, so I literally thought he was coming from the North Pole.
Oh, that's really cool.
That was pretty cool, and he would
sick.
actually arrive on the fire truck all decked out in Christmas lights.
Aww.
Probably like top 5 like memory of my childhood. So I just wanted
like
to put
the real life elf, right, Nick? Where it's like we went through the gummy forest
and through the Lincoln Tunnel.
And went through the Lincoln Tunnel.
I was expecting a short joke there, but I appreciate it. I heard elf and I immediately went there. Anyway, just wanted to give
this
the good
might
vibe.
be the nicest to the co-host I've ever been on this show.
Appreciate that support.
All right, guys. That's it for me.
Kate?
Oh boy, I've had horrible diarrhea for about 3 days now.
The fart flu.
lost over 10 pounds, and I feel terrible. My broken nose is still crinkling every time I touch it. I don't know if you could tell. I couldn't stop messing with it on the show today because it's been making a weird crunching sound lately. And the vein in my finger keeps exploding right here. And then my whole finger fills up with blue blood, and then I can't bend it for a couple days. And every week this happens now.
My finger has a heartbeat.
It does. Something is amiss.
I got to say, Kate, you are the definition of going through it right now. You're just straight up going through it.
I thought I was having an anxiety attack at work on Monday. It was just diarrhea. It was just bad diarrhea, folks. My son's about to get kicked out of daycare for real, for biting. So, yeah, we're just crushing it right now. Chaps.
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, we'll let Cons close out the show today. I actually have 3. I'll do 2, actually. So, 1. Fart plane story. Here we go. So I was flying on the plane. I was sitting there eating. I had eaten like the waffle, and then I was about to go to sleep. Turned out I was sleeping on the side of the plane. I had my little head up against the window, being all comfy, cozy in there. I woke up. I was startled because I broke a little wind, and I could hear it over my noise-canceling headphones. And I look over, and the guy sitting next to me is on his little ThinkPad, and he's not wearing headphones. And he looks at me so disgusted, and I think I was because I'm never, like, really gassy, but I think it was because we had the Hooters Hot Wings competition, and I downed, like, 8 or 9 Pepto-Bismols because I didn't want to go into the game and be wrecked and have to go in there during the game at a big stadium and having to shit would just be a terrible situation. But 2 days later, my stomach was just cramped, man. And so I have this fart, and I still feel my belly cramped. So I go into the bathroom. I shut the door, and I don't know. I wasn't sure if I had to go to the bathroom or if my stomach was just in knots. But when you sit down on the little bathroom toilet in the plane, it's a smaller hole. It's like a joke hole that they have in there. When you sit down, it essentially spread my butt cheeks apart. So my butt was like a fucking trumpet. And the loudest part of my life, and I come out, 2 of the flight attendants are standing right outside, and they look at me like I'm the absolute grossest person to ever live. It was the most ashamed I've been probably in a decade. It was terrible.
I love that.
Yeah, I didn't love that journey for me. Second, the difference between temperatures, I don't believe in air conditioner temperatures or heating temperatures in your house. 71 degrees set in the summer is drastically different from 71 degrees in the wintertime.
Yeah.
What is it? Which degree is it? You put it on 71 in the winter and you're sweating your dick off. You do it in the summertime, you're comfortable. What gives? It's 71 degreries.
71's set in here is freezing. I always turn it up higher.
No, summertime 71 is nice, I think.
Forget it.
Right,
probably has to do with the temperature outside and how your body reacts to that.
Yes.
True. Getting acclimated. Yeah. All right, Cons, what do you got?
Yeah, just a few quick things. Number 1, Rico's lucky that my father didn't hear about this until he listens to this tomorrow. He will now, but he's lucky because my father is certainly one to react, so he's lucky that didn't happen. Number 2, I just really want to reiterate to Dave and Dan, thank you for how they handled the situation with me, and I just thought it was completely respectful of me, my wife, and very upstanding, and the way they operate the company is a lot different than I think what people perceive from the outside a lot of times, so very much credit to them. And lastly, I was thinking about it during the show a little bit, chaps. If Rico wants to make this completely right and he wants me to believe that he is genuinely sorry, the next time he sees me, he will come up to me, man to man, face to face, look me in the eye, shake my hand, and apologize. He won't cower when I'm in the office. He won't go sit in the closet. He will come up to me like a man and apologize.
For the first time in years.
For the first time. It's one thing to make a phone call under duress. Now he's had some time to think about what he did.
And
come
I
up to me and apologize.
A step further than that, Cons. I think that every person that he's aggrieved at Barstool, he should have to go down the gauntlet of looking everybody in the eyes and apologizing. I'm sorry for being a piece of shit.
Yes. I absolutely agree. Agree. Only then can he begin the healing process here. But I'm willing to forgive. Guys. That's it. Thank you.
Sound the retreat.